Morning. Welcome to Poets Rise in celebration of Women's Equality Day. I'm your host, Aileen Cassinetto, Poet Laureate of San Mateo County. Today, we honor the sacrifices of those who fought to make women fully equal citizens to men in all respects under the Constitution. Our adversities and hopes over the last 100 years have taught us that we are stronger when we are united on all fronts. This year, the Women's Leadership Conference has invited poets and artists to reimagine, inspire, support, and empower Black, Indigenous, cis, trans, non-binary, gender non-conforming, genderqueer, and all women of color. It is my great honor to introduce some of our most powerful contemporary voices in the intersections of poetry, music, and society. To open our program, please welcome Bethlehem Roberson, a percussionist, spoken word artist, and songwriter who has performed in notable Philly venues, including TEDx Philadelphia, the Kimmel Center, and the Philadelphia Jazz Project. Please welcome Bethlehem Roberson.
Hello, everyone. So I'm the percussionist, and you will get a glimpse of that in a few minutes. The first song I'm gonna do is a original piece entitled "We Said." We say we are one, but to pieces we fall. We say we want peace, but the spirit is false on the path to find love. Distractions come here and far, and I say our sole purpose is to remember who we are, and I say our sole purpose is to remember who we are. Somehow we got lost, fighting for so long, crying for so long, and dying for so long. When will the battle be won? On the road to freedom, when will the battle be won? On the road to freedom. Hold your head up high and embrace the brightest sky. Walk in love and light and dance with all your might, knowing your strength lies in we. See, unity is fundamental, knowing your strength lies in we. In unity there's liberation to freely be I, to free to be me, free to be we. Hey, 'cause unity means freedom. 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 Hey, 'cause unity means freedom. Thank you. Thank you so much. This next piece, the last piece, will be my song entitled Evolution. I remixed it a little bit differently too. I'm a strong sister, such a strong sister. I'm a soul sister, such a soul sister. to show you. Take me by that door. I'm a strong sister, leave out that door. I'm a strong sister, leave out that door. Such a strong sister, leave out that door. Hey, leave out that door. Heartache, please leave out that door. Disappointed, please leave out that door. 'Cause I'm such a strong sister. Oh, pain, please leave out that door. Heartache, please leave out that door. Disappointment, please leave out that door. I'm a strong sister. Ooh, leave out that door. Shoo, leave out that door. Leave out that door. Such a strong sister. I'm a strong sister. Such a strong sister. I'm such a soul sister. I'm such a soulful sister. Though you try to knock me out, for the count no doubt, I'm a strong, such a strong, yes, a strong, yes, a strong soul sister. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bethlehem. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Our next poet is SevanKelee Boult, who has appeared on HBO Real Sex since 2000. Hailing from East Palo Alto, she is a Grand Slam champion and has performed all across the country, gracing such places as the De Young Museum, as well as Yerba Buena and the Marsh Theater. Please welcome SevanKelee Boult. We will move on to Aina Cariño. Our next poet is Aina Cariño, a queer Philippine ex-poet who was born in the Philippines. They are a Condiman Fellow and was a finalist for the 2019 Jake Adam York Prize. In December of 2019, Aina founded a reading series, Indigena Collective, centering othered and underrepresented creatives in the community, including but not limited to BIPOC, QTPOC, and people with disabilities. Please welcome Aina Cariño.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Aileen, for having me and for sharing this space with me, as well as to all the other readers and performers. I'm really humbled to be part of this. I just have some poems for y'all. This first poem is called Milk. A brown sister told me someone told her, white people smell like milk. So I took a good long whiff of one, brought him home with me, let him sleep in my bed. He kept me safe, kept me from lonely. So I kept him from spoiling, from curdling, kept him. At night he dripped milk into me, my fingers gripping his bony limbs, my brown awash in milk, rinsed and cooled. I slurped it up. Maybe he loved me, but only as white boys love guavas from a warm country. Pink soft insides, fragrant other. Maybe I loved him, but only as a brown girl loves a white thing, a so-called pure thing, makintab, a shiny lie. One day, I met his onion skin mother, his candle stump father. We talked about Asia, you know, that giant country. Onion mother said, my English was great, no accent. Candle Father said I looked exotic. Are you Polynesian? They may as well have asked what it's like to wake up smelling like dung, like tarantulas, burnt rice, or flies in summer heat, smelling like monsoon mildew, mud, stink bugs circling. Instead, they asked if I'd tried dog, asked if I've ever once burned rice, because I must be so good at it, I don't need a recipe. They all laughed. So later that night, I took my white boy to my lola's house, pulled out a jar of black vinegar, sukang itim, dipped my tongue in it, kissed him. You should have seen his pale face go see-through, chalk dissolving, reverse alchemy. Now, when I talk of white people, I tell my brown sister, baho, they stink of milk, so I let mine go. She still shakes her head at me, says, Bobo, why are you so stupid? Says I was lucky to be so close to one who smells of milk. But when milk turns sour, ferments, blooms fetid under the nose, the only thing to do is pour it down the drain. This next poem is called Terrible Bodies, and there's a reference in the poem to the 1904 World's Fair, where the US displaced villages of tribes in the Philippines and put them on show as human zoos in St. Louis. That was nicknamed Dogtown, USA. Terrible Bodies. 1. We began in soil, mountain, roughed, soursop, smeared. Candles in the cabinets, matches, plastic wrapped for when typhoons bring dank. We feed ourselves luxury, lard slopping out of tin cans. No room for mimicries, history, its invasions, perverted repetitions, death marches, hill stations, conquistadors. But we watch the sun come up, think it's down in reverse, news of terrible brown bodies shunted. Still, this wish, that the world's full blossoming might unhinge such absurd thievery. 2, to be other is to read badly drawn maps. Our brown breasts want for thrum, for curve of rib to hum with a revolutionary's love song. 3, oh, how the milk-stained hush remind them of Dogtown, USA. Los Indios Bravos forced into false homes, replicas, made to eat mutt, be mutt, spit snarl-muzzled, that fascist gag. Remember, marrow nourishes best coaxed from familiar crevice, sweet bone, tender on the tongue, our own canine muscles, bitten inner cheek. In this way, we taste ourselves. 4, taste mother, taste father, bitter as herbs from a bastard country. Do not bend. Be as Nara heartwood, culled for its burl. Be as fissured nib. Ink your terrible body onto paper, that whitest of worlds. I dream in a tongue other than my own. 1 minute I'm Tweety smack and the next I'm banjo twang. Yes, 1 minute I'm angle whip and the next I'm alighting endings with beginnings, mouthing vowels so flat my mongrel self sounds almost real. But I dream in a different dialect, sift my mother's stout syllables, plump honorifics from the language of my colonizers. What is left? Glossy contractions, shiny subjunctive, grammar that belongs to the anthropology of the pale. People who look nothing like me, my lips inflamed, form these words. Throat forced to swallow syntax, cheeks lined with a hook and barb of prepositions for proper. We, creatures broken, domesticated, blistered maws muzzled, my brown body a vessel, torched, suffused with the idioms of my invaders, white bodies with alien speech who are alarmed by the rolling, smacking, slapping of tongues on crooked teeth, my croon a fire, my throat a chimney, my tongue as white as a flag burning, burning, my tongue is burning, my tongue is burning, is. I just have one more poem. Thanks again for listening, and Aileen for having me here. This poem is called Rice. It's for my Lola, or my grandmother. Unhatched songs, quiet, perfumed white, dirt-born pips cooking on the stovetop. I listen in half light, breathe still, tilt my ear as memories of Lola float up with a milk scent. Over her shallow basket, she'd clean the rice, pick tan shell from ivory kernel, say, in America, with a husk like that, you could scuff at the lightest skin, the palest fear. Daily she fed me, sweet muck of thick soy, gingered meat, hot mounds of rice. I still wonder how a grain too small for a wish holds the task of feeding in its shell. I left Lola on her cement step, her chipped plates, those women stooped and bronzing in patties, and I try not to confuse the smell of soggy hulls with the damp musk of an American dream. Still, I wait for the water to bubble in the pot, and soon, in this half-light, they'll bud up soft, be what they'll be. And when it's time to grow up into this white, white world, give me a brown husk like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aina. Thank you. Our next poet is Meera Dasgupta, the 16-year-old 2020 National Youth Poet Laureate, a program by Urban Word. Also a Van Leer Fellow and Federal Hall Fellow, among others, her performances have been featured by the New York Times, PBS, Apple, the Apollo, Bryant Park, etc., and she has been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall, the Teen Vogue Summit, and TEDx, amongst many others. Welcome, Meera Dasgupta.
Hi, thank you for having me here. So my name is Meera, my pronouns are she, her, hers, and currently I'm wearing a blue patterned shirt and earrings with my hair tied back. So for the first poem, I'm actually going to go backwards in the way that they were written. So the first one is going to be one that I've done recently, with the last one being one that I did before I became New York City Poet Laureate, which is a long time ago. So this one is called Blazing Cities, and it's based on a poem I did with Bob Holman for a project on the prompt of why our cities are burning, and I thought it really worked well with the situation and how all of us are experiencing the world today. Blazing cities. In order to rise from its own ashes, a phoenix first must burn. Octavia Butler, Parable of the Talents. Mama City is an overflow of scorching highways and peeling skins. Her incendiary prayer presses untutored spines against a playground where heavenly bodies become gasoline. The bark of the corner deli singes baby hairs in all that is doused in oil. Suns guzzle lighter fluid, choke on seasoned air, set the boulevard ablaze with wax-lean bellies that hail themselves a bonfire. Between necropolis and red brick oven, the city buries itself beneath a sheet of ash. Grease dribbles off of children's lips and sears golden vagabonds black. Tongues their uneven gait, the foul-mouthed and gutter-born, the torch-strapped and hard-nosed babes stinking up the curb, their smokestack mouths blistering, fatty, smoldering psalms. For a meal, men ignite their own houses, spark matches to set on their copper-lined graves. Mama watches smiles melt in hearts crisp, turn, crumble. How the cardinal flames rise, fuel drowning already dead men. The dead men dead before the fire. Black men black before the flames. The city is a dead man stoking the embers upon which he lays. With all of his thousand small deaths do the fumes finally reach us. Mama gazes outside of her window at a horizon of soot and sand, at the cinder collecting footprints below the fire escape, at her own combustible words. Has the fire always been this large, or has it always been burning? And that's the first poem that I wrote pretty recently. And it was just me looking at the situation and trying to write about it, which I attempted to do in this poem. And the second poem is one that I wrote previously. So this was when I was announced as an ambassador for the National Youth Poet Laureate program and as a finalist. And I think like we had poems about burning and milk, and I thought it was really funny and how they're recurring themes. And I was looking at it like, wow, I have to follow such amazing poems and performances with this. But I'm going to read it, and I think it's interesting because milk, if you know Shakespeare and how it's portrayed within literature, it's seen as an aspect of fertility and life. And this poem is called Your Body Knows More Than Milk, and I think it's a perfect poem to speak of on this day. Your body knows more than milk and honey. Hips swing under the kitchen counter like 4 faded crumbs lost under the linoleum. In your gut, food babies balloon a second child from the womb. The uncles let you know that men can create God too now. The TV draws static and the floors stick with barbecue sauce. It drips from the buffet that your mama cooked for the guests coming tonight. Her sighs beneath the dishwater as she scrubs this poem until it resembles a silver platter. How it glistens when it drops a body into the drain. Your brother tells you to save the best parts for last, to separate the meat from the bone before he snatches it out between your teeth like a part of you hasn't gone with it. And no matter how much you choke and grieve and spread your limbs, the dinner table discards you among amens and hallelujahs. The woman in you is told to gather herself. She chews the fat of her cheek only to taste the residue of a dead thing. The canines may draw blood. The laceration reminds you that this is what it means to love your lineage, one that you pour into your cooking, prayers, saviors, your hands. Know the refrigerator door better than your father's side of the family. They peel back a couple of years, summertime, a saccharin dripping down the surface of a coconut that grandma gifts you for your 16th birthday. She promises that she will teach you the art of consumption, that falling coconuts are a blessing, that bruises will soften their skin, that the spilt milk will water your ancestry, that ancestry is a mother that is falling, the air caressing her stretch marks and making way for her curves. She embraces the sky with her windy limbs, waiting for the ground to catch her. The roots an unwritten psalm. They beckon, come home to me now. Her body a bloodline on the verge of cracking open. And that's the second poem that I have for you today. And I think something so particular about Zoom is that having been so used to having to use my body and to take up the space on a stage, it's so interesting to be able to talk directly to people and to allow the words to take centerfold. So I think that's something that I'm still learning and growing with. So thank you for allowing me to have the ability to be here. And for my third poem, I have one that I wrote a long time ago, and it's one that I wrote before becoming New York City Poet Laureate, and it was like my lightning round poem. And at that time, I didn't know how to write poems, no one really knows how to write a poem. It's really something that's visceral, but I'm just going to read it and talk directly to you because it's something that came from within me at that time. It's called Origami Woman. Origami woman fold into themselves. Retreating into paper cranes, they create creases where there be ones. Transparent skin, you can see the shadows within fold memories from mothers, sisters, daughters. Who would have thought that origami women have families? That origami women are more than two-dimensional material, only useful when needing to be used, because who wants to be used, really? Origami woman, are creations as well as creators. Tear their crepe-made paper airplane wings, and though irrevocably altered, they will still be able to fly. Because origami women remember every mark on their multicolored skin, and still choose to bear art and soul, for their flaws only make them stronger. Made to be made, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, the infinite possibilities. Because your mind would not be here if it weren't for origami woman. Left-brained or right-brained origami woman fold backwards and forwards to provide, but crease straight enough to keep the shape of their persona intact. Origami woman fold at sharp angles and curves, a one-of-a-kind craftsmanship of their own generational creation. Origami women are wind resistant, with passing zephyrs only increasing their wind tolerance. Origami women are not so fragile to be bullied into the fold by machoistic men, because origami women have the ability to paper cut and evolve within a time frame. Because their bodies are a miracle, able to withstand even the roughest of hands and able to survive over and over again, because origami women are just women. Women who bend, fold, leap, women who have crevices, stretches, and scars. Origami women are woman, and being woman is an art form in and of itself. And that's my final poem that I wrote a year ago, and it's so interesting to see how much I've grown, and I'm just so happy to be a part of this with all of you, so thank you.
Thank you so much, Meera. Our next poet is Tynea Smith, also known as Queen T, the CEO and founder of the Still Breathing Movement, who is also an upcoming author, empowerment coach, and the host of several shows, including Her Victory Has a Voice and Pick a Poet every Sunday on the Black Love Poetry series. Tynea will be reading a poem by suffragist Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Welcome, Tynea Smith.
Hi, thank you so much, Aileen, for this opportunity. My soul is being fed, and the purpose of us all meeting together is actually being accomplished. So I'm enjoying every bit of it. This poem that I have the honor of reciting is called Aunt Chloe's Politics. Of course, I don't know very much about these politics, but I think that some who run them do mighty ugly tricks. I've seen them honeyfogle around and talk so awful sweet that you'd think them full of kindness as an egg is full of meat. Now, I don't believe in looking honest people in the face and saying what you're doing wrong, that I haven't sold my race. When we want to school our children, if the money isn't there, whether black or white have took it, the loss we all must share. And this buying up each other is something worse than mean. Though I think a heap of voting, I go for voting clean. It's an honor for me to actually read that piece. Thank you, Aileen, for choosing it. It is very powerful in itself. I do have one more piece that I would like to share, and then I'll get out of your way. Waking up in a world where the sound of my stilettos on the very foundation my dreams were built is intimidating to most, yet inferior to the majority. And it doesn't help much that I fall in the category of minority. I've had to push harder and speak in a falsetto voice just to be heard. Silence at one point was golden, but I'm more than a noun. I'm actually a verb. Proclamation 41 and 47 is tattooed on my neck as a reminder that their hands and their knee has been there since way back. But for me, it was freedom. Freedom in the mind and liberation in my heart. That was a start. But will we ever make it to the finish? Without the world making us feel like we are nothing more than a blemish, a small imperfection that amplified on the surface of our skin. How many times do we have to amend? Take our liberties and drown them in ink so that the feathered pen can produce more chaos as they wrap themselves in mink. Over 100 years ago, it was said that we women have won. We could cast our vote in solidarity without feeling like we ourselves were voted out. Yet out of the mouth of babes is spewed the victory that was won when we use only our right to vote for injustice, poverty, racism, and the lack thereof. Far and near. And yes, we won, but 53% of minority women didn't even cast a vote when we last had a chance. With that incited fear. Fear that the right that we won is now being used against those with the lack of understanding. The lack of urgency will cause an urgent plea. Vote like it's your only chance to attend it. Cradle our freedom while we nurse the 19th Amendment. Use our last breath like George Floyd to vote. Don't get caught with your vote in hand, sleeping like Breonna Taylor. Drive the short distance to cast your vote. Call a friend and catch a ride. Jog like Ahmaud Murray and walk like Elijah McClain. Our life depends on gathering on the strength, the same way we did 100 years ago. I can't take saying their names, nor do I want anyone else I love to be behind the rest in peace. I'm speaking to all of us who are willing to dig deep. Allow the wisdom to seep. Wipe your eyes as you weep, and in November be willing to shut down every street, to exercise our right in every wrong, and to vote in peace. Rest in peace, not your soul in pieces. To all those who have lost their lives in the name of injustice, your name will live long. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Queen T. Thank you. Our next poet is Angelique Zobitz, who is a 2020 Best New Poets nominee and a Spring 2019 Black River Chapbook Competition finalist, among others. Her chapbook, Love Letters to the Revolution, forthcoming from the American Poetry Journal in October 2020, is a tender exploration of revolution, revolutionary mothering, breaking lineal chains, and fulfilling ancestral visions. She lives in West Lafayette, Indiana, with her husband, the Silver Fox, and daughter, the Revolution. Please welcome Angelique Zobitz.
Hello, everyone. Wow, to have to follow Queen T. I am just absolutely speechless and excited to be here in fellowship with all of these just fantastic and incredible artists. So thank you for opening the space to me. Today I am going to perform two poems, and within the first poem are housed smaller poems. They express specifically the anxiety of my intersections and living that out in the world. The title of the poem is called Every Day is a Litany of Violences. And for those of us who live with the isms, you know, every day is navigating the encounters of microaggression and the macroaggressions. And so I was thinking about my parenting and raising a daughter and the things that I navigate and the things that she will have to navigate. And so the things that we do, we make making ourselves smaller is a violence. Double consciousness is an adaptation to violence. Fear for my daughter or my nephews or anyone in the world who is living with the isms is a violence. The conversion to Christianity was a cultural and physical violence. And these are all violences that we live with every day. And so this first poem, Every Day is a Litany of Violence, addresses that. These bills don't pay themselves, so I get up early every morning, wipe the sleep out the corners of my eyes, take this hot shower, rub cocoa butter lotion into my skin, prep this face so you don't see the real me, brush these teeth and rinse this mouth of all the harsh words I can't utter for insubordination, paint this wayward mouth red, draw on these eyebrows, mascara the eyelashes into a curtain so my dissatisfaction doesn't show. Kiss him, tell him I love him as he leaves to start his day. It is bittersweet and upheaving, and yet still a calming balm to thank God, Father of white people and conversion, at whip and lash, that he does not walk out the house with an immediate target on his back the way that I do. Make the revolution breakfast and lunch, and then I cool her awake, turn on the cartoons, dress her, rub coconut into the ends of her hair and sunscreen into her skin, legacy of more and less melanin. Give her a vitamin so she can grow strong bones that could withstand the potential of a random beating, nurture her fire. Watch the episode of Ben and Holly. After all, the revolution is still a child as long as she knows she must combat racism. If her 5-year-old pre-K mate should spew it, then a cartoon is fine. Feed the revolution, but also we taught her no means no, and the power of no, and the difference between nice and kind, and why no is a good word, which she has embraced, as in no negotiation, no jelly toast, sage sausage, no to cereal, no this or that either. Just yesterday she said, and I quote, "Didn't I tell you no? Don't ask me again," end quote. And because yes, baby girl, hell yes, autonomy, we refuse to risk asking too stridently for fear she learn coercion, because little boys are taught persistence leading to yes is correct. And oh God, we need to sign her up today for karate. Repeat anti-coercion routine again for peeing, toothbrushing, putting on her shoes, car rides, school. And yes, so I will be micromanaging her interactions for bias and inquiring daily what she learned, how she felt, and if they listened. Please be aware all responses will be validated by a third-party query and the revolution. And if I should dislike the information I receive, either I or her father, yes, he is my husband. Yes, we are married. Yes, we were married before we were pregnant. No, he is not my sugar daddy. Yes, he is white. Nevertheless, I know she does look like her daddy. Please stay focused. One of us will be calling. Because I will get in the car for the 10-minute drive from school to work, where a pickup truck, this is Indiana after all, will cut me off, and I will remind myself not to make eye contact, because should I will be a victim not of happenstance, thus pilloried and profiled on the national news as a Black woman full of road rage who got what was coming to her, a synonym for Sandra Bland. If only I'd shut up. So that was my first poem. The second, I began writing last year, at the end of last year, as I was thinking about the Say Her Name. And it did not finally work itself out until this recent surge of additional violence that we are seeing. I think we all know that this violence has always existed, but now the advent of cameras and has increased the national spotlight on the violences that Black and Brown and Indigenous communities encounter every single day. And as a Black woman, I wanted to pay eulogy to the Black trans women, the Black women who are disproportionately victimized every day. And I've really been thinking about, obviously, policing, right? Because that's a part of it. That's the greatest part of it, really. And with so many poets here talking about fire, right? This poem itself is called Pyrescence. And to understand this poem, you have to understand this pyrescence, and with everything that's happening in San Mateo County and in California with the forest burning, it's a serotinous adaptation where a seed is released through heat or fire. And so in pyrescence, new blossoms require the destruction of old structures, and the forest is renewed through the burning. So this poem is about me envisioning old structures that are destroyed and an ecosystem that's renewed for blossoms that are free to grow. And I'll jump right into it. and this is called Pyrescence. For Brianna, for Oluwatoyin, for Rakia, Ria, Kayla, Dominique, Michelle, Nina, Miriam, Sandra, Atiana, Monica, Charlena, Chanel, Corinne, India, Alexia, Maya, Tanisha, Shanika, Natasha, Kendra, Latanya, Danette, Malaysia, Margaret, Dana, Eleanor, B. Love, Frankie Ann, Alberta, Tarika, Ayana, Bailey, Sharisa, Charmel, Alicia, Shelly, and all the ones that we have not learned of. Say her name. 3 parts. 1, every tree is potential kindling, is potential fire, is potentially a large pole pine seed sealed tight with resin and can only be opened after califaction has broken it apart. We can't go into the woods and come out the other side untouched by brambles or brush fire, are not a dandelion seed outfitted with parachute free to float and grow where we land. We are Black women, therefore we are often tough seed or tree or strange fruit or kindling. Adaptation drives us to serotiny, dormant, awaiting release, blossoming and dying from heat. 1, 2, tree, kindling, fire. We go into the woods and come out touched by brambles or brush fire. Black women are strange fruit, awaiting release, blossoming and dying from heat. 3, we, Black women, are dying from heat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelique. I now would like to introduce Kim Shuck, award-winning 7th Poet Laureate of San Francisco. Kim belongs to the Northern California Cherokee diaspora and has taught American Indian Studies at San Francisco State University. She is the solo author of 7 books and is involved in a 4th chaptology project for independent booksellers in San Francisco. Her latest book is a 1-poem chapbook, Whose Water, from Mammoth Publications. Although generally silly, Kim is being worn down by the current political and social situation. Welcome, Kim Shuck.
I am so honored to be reading with all of you. As a long-term mouthy woman and a girl who talked too much in school, I'm honored to be among this group of people. And I'm also honored to be joining you from Ramaytush Ohlone territory, Yalama. One of you is actually coming from my people's homeland. And when I was last there, I was there with my partner who is white. And when I paid for our, when I paid for our motel room with a credit card, I was asked, "Is this an Indian credit card?" And my response was to look the guy in the eyes and say, "No, it's a MasterCard." When I was born, my parents' marriage was illegal. We make progress. It is glacial. This is from a series of poems called Murdered Missing, which I wrote for 50 days about murdered and missing Indigenous women. We lost my daughter 8 years ago. Day 1. Somewhere, she's afraid right now. It hurts to be strangled. The body panics. She is silenced, might die of stroke, pulmonary edema. The arteries might tear. Her head feels as if it may explode. This can take up to 5 minutes. Day 32. The child is missing. These days with legal cover, taken, and whether it was off to boarding school, into a camp, and then to foster parents, and then lost, or dragged from her father's arms, the missing child is another hole in our hearts. Day 39. Colonization years on, the emergency slows to always, and there is silence. A pregnant woman orders pizza, is dragged into the body count, headlines mourn the burned houses. Day 40, last seen wasn't her first name. They sing for the women at risk, offer them smudge. She searches because it could have been her. They bring licorice and check in because everyone deserves to be looked for. Day 41, they found a shoe and no one wanted to look inside. As if we might have mislaid her there in that shoe, as if she might drain away like pouring water, like things dragged from water then tipped out, like rainy days on the water, looking for her body. Day 42, 98 children lost their mothers to one man. Cross-jurisdictional indifference, the killer knew, the police knew, the families knew, it wouldn't be investigated. Day 45, they gave the policy a cute name, but it was still Native kids as a commodity. Taken from their families, nearly 40 years later, not everyone gathered back at the fishing spot by the river. They find a grave. Eventually, they find a grave. Day 46, some nights the dog will howl with me. It's not my dog, but he knows the difference between tragedy and crime as clearly as I do. We can both smell it. If I lick my words before I use them for hunting, what heart will stop and which will start? And this is day 50. If community is a matter of keeping score, we all give each other reasons not to search for us. Being human isn't easy, but we owe it to our ancestors, recent and distant, to repatriate their stories, to sing them home, and to live the brightest possible moments in their honor. That's out of Foothills Publishing, and any money I would be getting from that book goes directly to Sovereign Bodies Institute, which is doing the work not of correcting the problem, but of counting the dead, which hasn't really been done yet because we don't do that. I just wanted to say, we just experienced the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment. And I kept seeing everybody saying, hey, fantastic, it's 100 years since women got the right to vote. But most of the women here in this reading did not get the right to vote at that time. And Indigenous women didn't legally get the right to vote everywhere in the United States until 1962. And there are still loopholes that prevent Indigenous women from voting in the United States now. So we need to be careful how we celebrate what we're celebrating. It's a really good thing that white women got the right to vote 100 years ago. That's fabulous and necessary and important. But it is also fabulous, necessary, and important when we all get our own space to express ourselves by voting. And my last thing that I wanted to say is that I so appreciate being in this room.
Kim, I think,
okay. Be named, which is not true. I was replacing a man named Alejandro Murguia, and although we had at that time not had the conversation, I'm pretty sure his family is indigenous to the Western Hemisphere as well. So I just really appreciate everybody's voices. We need to not we need to not commodify one another in the way that we have. We need to see each other clearly, and I really appreciate all of your work. Thank you for having me, Aileen.
Thank you so much, Kim. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I now would like to share the work of SevanKelee Boult from East Palo Alto.
Good morning. My name is SevanKelee Boult. I am from East Palo Alto, California, and I have a couple of poems for you. This is entitled I Am No.
Aileen, I believe you have to unmute yourself for us to hear Seven.
For life. And I have.
I'm sorry about
Good
that.
morning. My name is SevanKelee Boult. I am from East Palo Alto, California, and I have a couple of poems for you. This is entitled I Am No. I am no castaway. My ancestors jettisoned across the Atlantic, melanated intruders interloping throughout a world built by them, not for them. I am no foundling. My parents gave me the freedom, expatriating me from a homeland I will never know. Tongue exiled in a stranger's mouth, squatting on vocabulary, squandering a wealth of words. I am no defector fleeing a war. The battle is ongoing. Non-citizens bend traditions cut at their core, expelling the essence of sacred text, fugitive immigrants racing towards westernization. I am no derelict. I belong to the universe, so I am told. Still, I find myself planting roots, this foreigner, alien, weed, clinging to blood-soaked soil, grasping for life. And I have one more that I'll read to you. I did a series with a dance troupe from Oakland called Bahia Movement, and we created a show called Weighted Acceptance. And the chorus for Weighted Acceptance is, I carry this weight for my people. Together we bear this weight, sharing our burdens. This load is not our own. We impact and anchor one another. Together we carry this weight. And I have a few poems that go in this series. That was went a ways, into the woods, through the forest, beyond the trees, into the woods until the desert, made a way, into the desert, through the valley, beyond the sands, into the desert until a pool of water, stolen away, beyond the tribe, through subjugation, into a pool of water, shackled, cast a ways, into the ocean, through the river, beyond the sea, into the ocean, until a school of black bodies. Drift a ways, into a school of black bodies, through the Middle Passage, beyond colonization, into a school of black bodies in the cotton fields. Run a ways, beyond strange fruit, through tobacco leaves, into cotton fields, singing for freedom, swing low, sweet chariot, coming forward to carry me home, struggle a ways into freedom, through Jim Crow, beyond civil rights, into freedom until justice, find a way into justice, through conscious movement, beyond affirmative action, into justice until Black lives matter. Let's go a ways, beyond social media, through love and peace, into Black Lives Matter until Black lives matter. And Speaking of Black lives, I'll go with Black love. This is one of my favorite poems, and then I'll do a couple of poems for the ladies. Black love is beautiful as a Black mother's love, deep, unmoving, buoyant. Black love is earth-hued corneas creating galaxies. Black love is ebony, seducing moonlight, midnight kisses holding the brightness of day. Black love is beautiful. Black love is inspirational. The dream of Martin, building a civil future right for Black people. Black love is the wisdom of Malcolm, smart enough to question authority and acknowledge the continuous change in self and others. Black love is the audacity of the Black Panthers, ensuring space for hope, thriving through the depths of racial warfare, raise fist thunder with pride. Black love is inspirational. Black love is unforgettable. Rhythms within rows of slave ships, oars dip past sinking brown bodies, swallowing freedom. Black love is trailblazing, underground railroad family freeing, still saving massa from his self-love. Black love is free feet praising in syncopation, stepping until ancestors' bones resurrect from our sweat. Black love is unforgettable. Black love is. Black love is. Black love is. Thank you very much. My name is SevanKelee. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, SevanKelee. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. I hope that our presentation has emboldened, enlightened, and encouraged you to reimagine, inspire, support, and empower the women in your communities. Please remember that when we vote, we honor the sacrifices of the women who fought not just for suffrage, but for a better life and a more equitable future. If you're watching Facebook Live, please stay tuned for Congresswoman Jackie Speer, who will deliver the keynote address at 11:30 a.m. Thank you again, everyone. Have a meaningful, powerful Women's Equality Day.